So, Mr. Sniffin, the
Great.
floor is yours.
I assume you can hear me unless I hear otherwise. So,
Yes, sir.
hello, members of the Wyoming Retirement System Board of Directors. I am Ron Sniffin. I'm the Executive Director for the Wyoming Education Association. The WEA represents over 6,000 members, as well as nearly 1,200 retired members. And because of our commitment to our retired members, the WEA is also a member of the Wyoming Coalition for a Healthy Retirement System. That includes the Public Employees Association, WEA Retired, Wyoming Retired Education Personnel, Wyoming Firefighters Association, the Equality State Policy Center, and AARP of Wyoming. I'm here today representing the coalition. And again, let me first thank you for your diligent work in making sure that our retirement system is such a strong system, and we're very proud. We know we're in the top 10, if not the top 3 in the nation for the retirement system. And I wanted to talk to you today about this concept that was provided in your packet as you discussed this morning during your Legislative and Benefits Committee portion of your meeting. The Wyoming Coalition for a Healthy Retirement is working on a concept to find a way to provide some financial relief to retirees. That white paper I mentioned was like page 36 of your L&B packet and was titled Unanticipated Gains Endowment Fund. So the overarching goal of this concept is to find some funding to help retirees and let you, as the board of the retirement system, figure out a way to best allocate those funds. We recognize your hands have been tied essentially since 2012 when the legislature took away your authority to grant COLAs and instituted the fact that the corpus needs to be 100% funded before you can even take any action. As was discussed earlier, there hasn't been a COLA since 2008, and even back then it was limited. Some haven't seen a COLA since 2006, I believe. So the intent of this concept is to take some of these unanticipated gains, siphon off some of the gains from an extraordinarily good year, create a pot of money that you as the board can determine how to best utilize it. We intentionally we haven't prescribed how you should allocate the money. We feel you're the experts, but you don't have a separate pot of money that you can draw from. So our goal is to let you use your expertise and identify where it should go. I heard this morning there's an issue about the gap between those that have been retired a very long time and those that have been recently retired. Perhaps you could devise a way to get some relief to those retirees that have been retired a real long time. Another idea has been the 13th check idea, or perhaps you let it sit for a while and grow and then maybe do grant a COLA. But again, the intent here is not to be prescriptive. We know that you are the experts. The bottom line is that right now, it's going to be 30 years before a COLA can be granted if we meet the actuarial anticipation of 100% funding in 30 years. And you know, the retirees I know, they probably won't be around in 30 years. So let's try to figure out a way to get some relief to these folks earlier. And another reason, you know, I was talking to Dave and some of your other staff about this, but you know, when there's an extraordinary gain, like what was it in 2018, 18%, the retirees, you know, it's not only that we realize the corpus is built upon itself, but it was the retirees' money that was put into this corpus to create the fund. And why not allow these retirees to share some of the windfall in a given year now, instead of waiting 30 years, which is essentially never. So why not allow them to share the wealth in some way so that there's some relief? Again, we're kind of thinking outside of the box, although through the Wyoming Retirement System staff, and we're also members of the National Public Pension Coalition. This concept is out there. I looked at, I think, Arizona and Connecticut. So there's a few versions of this out there. But the bottom line is, let's get some money into a separate bucket that you as the board can figure out a way to provide some relief to the retirees, which I appreciate, and also heard you say this morning, you know, it's been a long time goal of the board to to get a COLA to these folks, but I do also realize your hands are tied. And I won't go through the white paper word for word, but no doubt we need to have some safeguards in there. We put in there, it needs to be at least 75% funded. That's a placeholder. I heard some angst about that number, but what I've also heard from studying this issue through the National Public Pension Coalition, that many public pension systems, that they feel 80% or 75% is good enough to provide relief to members of their retirement systems. 100%, just isn't really necessary. But again, everybody has their own perspectives. So with that, that's kind of the concept. And as Mike said earlier, it'd be great if we had your support. Our next step is to go to find a legislator or two. We've got some identified who would sponsor this legislation, but we know perfectly well, and I've been in the business long enough to know that if an entity like the Wyoming Retirement System opposed this concept, it's basically DOA. So what we're asking is ideally support, but please don't oppose it. And if you do oppose it, help us understand why, and if we can come up with a concept to bring it forward. But we're just thinking of other ways to get some funds that you can actually allocate. But right now, from my perspective, your hands are tied. So that's the concept. And I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Ron. Any questions? Anybody? I mean, certainly. Well, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Ron, can you talk a little bit about just generally, have you talked to the legislature and what their reception has been of it?
Well, Representative Henderson has been a real advocate for providing relief to the retirees. And he asked us to bring to him ideas. And we did talk to him about this concept. And I think there's a very good chance he would sponsor it. Candidly, well, I won't say names, but I'm hoping there might be some others that have supported it in the past. And if you reflect back on the 13th check concept and some of the authors or some of the sponsors that were on those bills, we're optimistic that they will support this concept.
Anybody else? Well, no, thank you, Ron. I really do appreciate you coming on. And I think we really do appreciate the ideas. I think, as you've heard from us, we know the need for a COLA and our position, but I do think it's something that we need to look at carefully in terms of, how it affects everything, frankly. Certainly we want to try to figure out a way. I think we're all very concerned, not only clearly with the lack of a COLA over since 2009, but what's kind of coming, frankly. So I think we feel the urgency. So, but again, we appreciate you coming on, and certainly we want to try to work with you and see how we can get something accomplished.
Well, thank you, and I can't thank enough the staff of the retirement system and providing a lot of information and ideas and running numbers and being the go-between between us and you. So however we can work with you, we would appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you. Really appreciate it.